아, 카메라가 휘었어. 안녕하세요. 매일매일 운동하기를 실천하고 있는 동탄 왕코입니다. 오늘은 일요일이죠. 하루 쉬었는데 어제 술을 마셨는데 와, 토했어. 얼마 안 마신 것 같은데 몸이 이제 술을 먹으면 안 되는 나이가 됐나 봐요. 그래서 제가 지금 다이어트를 하고 있잖아요. 지금 선식을 하나 먹었는데 배가 너무 고파서 치킨을 시켰습니다. 치킨이 오기 전까지 운동을 해야겠어요. 원래 아무것도 안 먹으려고 했는데 치킨을 먹어야겠습니다. 치킨은 사랑이죠. 일단은 운동이 진짜 너무 하기 싫은데 스트레칭이랑 팔굽혀펴기만 일단 위주로 하도록 하겠습니다. 역시 운동을 할 땐 CNN이죠.
Updates in your inbox. Sign up for the CNN newsletter. Coronavirus, fact versus fiction.
We're aiming this to be the world's most sustainable vehicle. So for instance, all the carpets are made from recycled plastic bottles and fishing nets from the ocean. And so everything is sustainable about this vehicle. We use other recycled materials. We have a large solar roof on the vehicle. So I think the world is really, after COVID, going towards a cleaner world. And we got to do something about it. So our idea was to make the world's most sustainable car, but make it good looking, make it affordable. And that's what we have done. This is the first in a range of vehicles. But the point here is to create a vehicle which is really competitive with a similar gasoline vehicle. And that's what this is. But also really, go in and look at how can we make a vehicle more sustainable? How can we make the future cleaner? And we love our cars, and we got to make the cars cleaner. And that's our mission is really to make the world's most sustainable vehicles.
피시커라는 자동차 브랜드가 있나?
I'm Scott McLean in Brno, Czech Republic, and this is CNN.
Hello and welcome to our special My Freedom Day Global Forum. I'm Becky Anderson in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, and we are excited to once again be engaging with the youngsters on the issue of modern day slavery. It's a little different this year due to the global pandemic. Our conversations are happening virtually. We are joined today by students from schools across the Middle East, Africa and Europe. My colleague Christy Lou Stout is in Hong Kong with students in Asia. And CNN's Donny O'Sullivan is in the United States speaking to students from across North, South and Central America. Over the last 10 years, CNN has been shining a light on the scourge that is modern day slavery through what's known as our Freedom Project. Have a look at this.
One of the things that's horrible about the human trafficking situation in the 21st century is that you can sell a person over and over and over.
These men are sold for 1,200 Libyan pounds, $400 each.
I'm speechless. I don't know how to put this into words. They were human beings auctioning off other human beings.
How are we to ever find them? How are we to ever know who they are?
It's just exploitation, it's trafficking, it's slavery.
We are launching an ambitious undertaking. We're calling it the CNN Freedom Project.
FBI, search warrant, open up!
These are the wrecks of the vessels that carry people and their dreams.
These two, barely in their teens, working up to 10 hours a day.
500 people rescued during a raid on a brick kiln in southern India.
All of them?
Sure.
I'll go with us.
Yeah, they're all good.
You'll be free.
Good, yeah, feel up.
Well, it's a story of our era and one that we are firmly dedicated to. Today, we want to focus on forced labor here in the Middle East, across Africa, and into Europe. Well, we are really lucky to be joined by two expert panelists today. Ruth Donnelly, the CEO of Stop the Traffic, and Siddharth Kara, author of several books on modern-day slavery and a British Academy Global Professor. So, viewers and students, I want to start by discussing something that you are using right now, but probably have little idea about: Cobalt. It helps make the batteries that work in things like our phones and our computers. But cobalt is often mined by child labourers who have been forced into modern slavery. Take a look at this special report from my colleague here at CNN, Neba Al-Bahi.
There is growing evidence that the cobalt supply chain uses child labor. Companies say they are working hard to verify the source of all their hand-mined artisanal cobalt, but that it's a difficult task. We're here to follow the supply chain and see if we can do it for them. Before we set out, even the local governor warns us to expect to see children at work. We arrive at the Musanoi river mine, where the cobalt ore is washed to grind it down. Although we've been given permission to film here, as soon as they see us, officials begin to scare the children away. Not all of them, though, are fast enough. Some work on. One young boy staggers under his load. His friend sees the camera, and he drops his sack. They've clearly been warned. A mining ministry official spots this boy carrying cobalt has been captured by our cameras. His response is brutal. Later, we ask him why he struck the child. He refused to answer.
That's the issue, Ruth. What are then some of these steps that our students today and our viewers can take to stop slavery in the supply chains?
It is complicated because it feels a long way away and it feels something that we just can't not use. But the most powerful thing we can do is actually ask questions.
Well, let's get to our students, so, shall we, for some thoughts and some questions. Morgana in Brussels has a question. Morgana.
I was wondering, in what other ways is modern-day slavery ingrained in our structures of our society? And what everyday actions could we implement as students or as people to reduce this issue?
This is not something new. Slavery has been embedded in society for most of human civilization. It morphs, it changes, it evolves like a virus, seeking to evade any effort to eradicate it. What you need to do is be aware of this and spread that information. Organize, create a voice, demand action from your elected officials, from corporations, from your communities to ensure that you're not contributing in any way to modern slavery.
Bella's in Abu Dhabi. Bella, your question.
I was wondering what can be done to further strengthen and ensure implementation of policies and regulations regarding modern-day slavery.
This is one of the great frustrations, Bella, that, there's a lot of good things written on paper, a lot of good laws out there now, but it doesn't translate into the real world. It requires implementation, and that's what we're fundamentally lacking right now.
Bella, it's the question that gets me up in the morning, because in the end, we're only as good as what we've achieved yesterday. I have a pet hate about lots and lots of dossiers of paper that never come to life. And so my call to everyone is always, if you can start doing something today that you learned from this, then actually you're part of the change.
Welcome to Princess in Sierra Leone. Your question.
In Sierra Leone, the media under reports human trafficking events. So with this challenge, I want to know how we can eradicate human trafficking.
If you have one of these, you have media. And believe it or not, you can actually upload it and share it with the world. It is so extraordinary and powerful, the tools you have, Princess, at your disposal. So if the local media is not going to do it, you do it. And you could then be the person, Princess, who leads the charge in shining light on slavery in your community and ultimately leading efforts to abolish it.
João from Portugal.
Hi, I would like to know if there is a way for students to actually go into these countries and help these people out.
Trafficking and traffickers cross every border, every country, every continent, and every place where people would be surprised. So actually it starts where you are. So where do you see yourself? What skills and gifts have you got in your hands? And go after that inspiration. And it might mean that you become an extraordinary traveler and journalist, but it might mean that you become a leader in government, business, finance, law, or an NGO, and you change the world.
I do hope that you have gotten a lot out of what we've been discussing today. Own it. Do it. Enough already. We need to see change. Well, thank you to our panelists, Ruth and Siddharth, and thank you to these amazing students, all of you, for joining us from all over Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. Well, up next, Christy Lustout, my colleague, joins us from Hong Kong for a discussion with students in Asia.
For me, it was archaic to throw all our waste into one dustbin, and it ended up in our ever-growing landfills in India. And I wanted to change that. I am Ria Mazumdar Singhal. I am the CEO and founder of EcoWare. We take agricultural waste, these are crops such as wheat, rice, and sugarcane, and convert it into packaging that is 100% biodegradable and compostable. Once it comes in contact with soil, it will actually break down within 90 days. Typically, this waste has had no value whatsoever, and we've now found value. So you would find us at quick service restaurants. We retail online and offline, and we export. Just in 2019, we displaced 50 million pieces of single-use plastic with EcoWare. We are very impact-driven, and as we scale, we obviously are looking to scale our impact. We know that single-use plastic is a global problem, and we wish to be a global solution.
Hello from Hong Kong. I'm Christy Lustout. We are excited to have with us scores of students joining us by video chat from schools across Asia as we discuss modern-day slavery here in the region and how people can live free of exploitation. We have two modern-day abolitionists who are based here in Asia. I'm joined by Matt Friedman. He is an activist and educator, as well as the CEO of the Mekong Club. And we also have Victoria An, who is a communicator and educator with the Fair Employment Foundation based in Hong Kong. She and her organization, they help promote the ethical recruitment of workers. Now, we all agree to this, that everyone has a right to a life free from slavery, but right now, millions of people are entrapped as they make the clothes we wear. I want you to take a look at this clip. This is from a brand new CNN Freedom Project documentary, an investigation into slavery in India's silk industry. Take a look.
Recently, we found a mother and daughter who were working in silk production and they were in bondage conditions. The mother has been working as a bonded laborer for 8 to 9 years.
They're trapped in working for someone in order to pay back the debt. What are you doing in your work? What are you doing in the factory? How long are you working?
I'm working at silk industry. I started this work 3 years ago. We work in this factory 11 hours a day and we get only 200 rupees.
What are you exactly doing in a factory? What type of work?
We have to remove the thread and the silk is made. From that, the steam water will come where that is very bad smelling. And our hands are also started bleeding.
What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of our owner because he has given us a home to living. Where should we go? We cannot go anywhere. So we are afraid to show our face and we don't know what he'll do with us after he sees this video.
Now, it's just disturbing to imagine that the silk shirt that I'm wearing could very well be the result of slave labor. Now, let's go straight to our panelists about forced labor in the silk industry. Let's go first to Matt Friedman. Can you describe in detail some of the experiences that victims face in bonded labor or forced labor?
Imagine if you had to work, like she said, 11 or 12 hours a day. Imagine if, as part of that, you never got a day off. Imagine that you were fearful all the time that somebody was going to come and yell at you and beat you and go after you. These are the types of things these people face. They can't leave the situation, and ultimately what it results in is a loss of freedom.
Victoria, what about other textiles? What about the jeans we wear, the jackets and t-shirts not made of silk?
In every industry, what is happening is with forced labor, debt bondage is a key factor, and that's across industries, not just apparel and textiles, but even where we work in migrant domestic work as well.
Let's open it up to Q&A. To all of you out there, this is your chance to raise a question about this form of modern day slavery and to stoke a conversation to get some answers. Now, the first question is from Kiara in Hong Kong. Kiara, what do you want to know?
I was wondering how we can make sure clothes are ethically made.
I think this is a great question. It's so difficult for consumers to know this, if where their clothes come from, who is making them. But I think what's even more surprising is that businesses and brands themselves also have a hard time knowing this information.
Absolutely, it's very difficult to identify what's happening because if they want to hide it, they hide it. It's better sometimes to look at the companies that proactively say, we are doing everything we can to address this issue, and we put it on our website and describe what those things are.
Our next question is from Adi from Noida in India.
What do you think is the most important thing to break the dangerous cycle of debt bondage?
There's a lot of potential for improvements and solutions if we tackle recruitment and make sure that the recruitment process is done with accountability to workers and employers and greater transparency.
Where there is a will, there is a way. When companies eventually come to accept the fact that there is no choice, they have to make sure that every element of their supply chain is free.
이렇게 운동을 하고 치킨을 안 먹어야
If
되는데.
this is mandated, then you will see that traceability will be possible. The tools, the means, the technology exists for that to happen.
Ashia in India, you have a question to pose to our panelists. Take it away.
What are some ways that we as students can highlight the issues that are pertaining to human trafficking so that the government is compelled to take action and not ignore them?
There's a point at which we as human beings just have to say, enough is enough. We have to step up, we have to take a stand, and it's often students that lead this. Students have a heart for this, they have a desire, they have compassion, and if they can kind of accept the fact that what they do is going to make a difference, and it will, then this is what is going to bring the change about. And that's why this day is so important.
I would like to thank our passionate panelists for joining us. Gratitude for each and every one of you, every student taking part. You're becoming the generation that has become very passionately involved and active to fight it. So let's continue to work together to deliver the freedom for people across the world and across here in the Asia Pacific region. And coming up next, we'll hear from students on the other side of the world in the United States. We have my colleague Donnie O'Sullivan after the break.
The Keepers. Preserving Japan's most treasured crafts. History comes alive with the delicate taste of sweetness, pulsating sounds throughout the nation, and mesmerizing one-of-a-kind designs.
I see expressions that I could never have even imagined.
Travel across Japan for stories of artisans passing on their legacy to the next generation. The Keepers, Monday on CNN.
Hello from the United States, I'm Donnie O'Sullivan, and we are so delighted to be joined today by dozens of students from across North, South, and Central America who are joining us by video chat. Today, we are going to talk about human trafficking in this part of the world and how young people can become part of the solution to end modern-day slavery. And joining us today are two of the foremost experts who have dedicated their lives to stopping modern-day slavery in the Americas. Ashley Bryant is the co-founder and CEO of Three Strands Global Foundation, a nonprofit that mobilizes communities to combat human trafficking, and Caroline Humer, who is the vice president of programs at the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children, otherwise known as ICMEC. Caroline, I want to start with you, if you don't mind. Can you start by giving our students, the students who are joining us today, a sense of the scope of the issue? Sex trafficking is a crime often kept in the shadows, but how big a problem are we talking about here?
Thank you, Donnie, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's difficult to estimate those numbers just because a lot of it is in the dark space that we don't know. So what we do know is that the International Labour Organization estimates that 1.2 million children are trafficked every year. For the US, you have about 100,000 to 200,000 US children who are sex trafficked within the US.